Chef Shu, she was able to bring a breath of fresh air, new ideas, and a level of professionalism and consistency. So, because you can never do this all by yourself. She has a great team. She's a great leader.
Oh, I love that. What a glowing recommendation for you, chef. To kick us off, I'll have you both introduce yourself. So tell me your name and then your title or your role within the organization.
My name is Shuyao, and then I'm a pastry chef at Alexander's Patisserie.
And I am David Brungard. I am a vice president of operations for the Alexander Group Corporate.
Incredible. I'm going to stick with you, David. Can you tell us the origin story of the restaurant group? How did it first get started?
So the Alexander Steakhouse restaurant first opened in May of 2005 in Cupertino. It was a passion project from a gentleman named David Zhang. I had this idea to have this really great steakhouse, really to kind of like first serve what their desires was and what they were looking for in hospitality. Because I said, if I do something, I'm going to be happy and doing. People are going to want to come. And if you make a long story short, 5 years later, we opened the C by Alexander Steakhouse in Palo Alto. We opened Alexander Steakhouse in San Francisco. And in 2013 or 2014, we opened the Patisserie in Mountain View. Now, at that point in time, David Zhang was a little bit less hands-on. And Chanel Chang, who is currently the president for the company, really is extremely passionate about everything French and everything pastry. And the patisserie was kind of like a dream come true, having the Alexander brand to back it up, and us really being able to, let's go fine dining all the way. Let's make a really, really nice patisserie. And and that's how it all got started. We had all kinds of people working to the patisseries, like French pastry chef and chocolatiers, a lot of international culinary students wanting to lend themselves to to this little project. And there is a shift in the business at all levels since the pandemic. So things we were able to do prior to the pandemic, and then some of the changes of just the logistics of what it's like to be in food service. But then I will say we, despite the struggles of running a business in the challenging times that we were facing, Chef Shu came along. Or she was working there, and then she left, and then she came back and became our chef. And I will say, ever since she came back in the leadership position in the patisserie in Mountain View, our world kind of feels like pre-pandemic again. Like she was able to bring a breath of fresh air, new ideas, and a level of professionalism and consistency. And she has a great sous chef. So, because you can never do this all by yourself. She has a great team. She's a great leader. Our flavor profiles are right on point. Nothing is really super, super French or super, super something else. But the true essence of what we're trying to do for our guests is there. And I like the patisserie. I'm a croissant lover. Croissants are the best. I am I'm happy every time I go there. If there's no croissant, I eat a pain au chocolat or I eat a ham and cheese. Like whatever she does is always on point.
Oh, I love that. What a glowing recommendation for you, chef. That's amazing. I'm going to bring it to you in a second, chef, because I want to ask more about the patisserie. But before I do that, can you describe for me a little bit of what the steakhouse is like? I remember, because I used to live in San Francisco, but I just want our listeners to get a sense of what that original brand and kind of the essence of the steakhouse and just that high-end feel is really like.
Well, the essence of Alexander Steakhouse, and its very premise, is the starting base of a really good, really high quality, product. You start with the best steak, and you prepare them well, and then we threw in a Japanese twist. We believe, and might still even be the only steakhouse in California with the highest Wagyu selection, so Japanese beef. We have relationship with the export part of the Japanese government. They only allow 3% of export of the 100% of production that they have in Japan. And then, this evolved into refining it. Eventually, by 2011, the steakhouse received a Michelin star in Cupertino. And obviously, when the chef leaves, which he left a couple of years later, the star went away. Because the stars really follow a chef. But it's really, it's a dining experience. It's large format steaks on the domestic side, small little portions on the Japanese side. Everything is a little bit of a, like you will find a bordelais sauce there, which is, like the classic veal demi reduction with, with bone marrow and red wine from Bordeaux. That's why it's called the bordelais. But then you will find, a shiso sauce or some yuzu ponzu, and and we mix and match all of those things to create something kind of unique. We take a tremendous amount of pride in the level of service we try to offer our guests, without being too formal. Dining out, fine dining or not, should be a fun time. So we try not to take ourselves too seriously, but we follow, the guidelines of, we don't sell food. We provide an escape for happiness for a few hours, right? And that's the same at the patisserie. You take a bite into a croissant and you transport it. Maybe you think you're in Paris, or maybe you're just like, what? The world is fine. In this very moment, I am at peace. And that's really the essence of what we try to do in hospitality.
I love that. That was great. Okay, chef, I'm going to bring it to you. Can you describe for me the patisserie? Like, give me a sense of what it's like in there, what you guys do. What's the core of the patisserie to you? Like, what is it made of?
Well, I think the core of the patisserie is my team. They're the whole reason why we're success. And then what I want to bring to the patisserie is I always brainstorm new stuff. So I always have something new selection for my customer, and also to keep my team interested, because they don't want to roll the same croissant every day. They don't want to make same pastry cream every day.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into pastries and bakery and all of that?
I didn't go to a culinary school directly. I went to school for hospitality management as working in a hotel, but I really don't like it. So I changed shift. So I went to a pastry school in Chicago. And then during that time, I worked in a candy shop. I studied in a Michelin restaurant in Chicago. And then as soon as my husband got a job in California, that's how I moved to California. And then I got my first job at Alexander Patisserie. And then I fell in love with it. And then I worked here for 3 years. I left for my maternity leave. And then I come back.
That is awesome. Okay, I want you to describe for us some of your favorite menu items. What are kind of the tried and true things that you always have? And then maybe what are some of your favorite current items that you have on the menu?
We'll always have a croissant, a butter croissant for my David. And yes, and we've been trying to improve the recipe. So I mean, with the different temperature, how we baking it and how we making the dough, I think there's always room for improvement for a croissant. Like, yeah. And then still we're trying to figure out how to make the best croissant by using different butter from France or a different temperature.
That's amazing. And it's so cool that you continue to try to evolve it and make it better all the time. I think that's really amazing.
Yeah, because even though we bake the croissant every day, we still have problem with it. So we're still trying to work out and to get the best result.
Well, and baking is really what's the word I'm looking for? It's precise to an extent, right? You really have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing, or your whole recipe could kind of go off kilter. How do you balance trying new things or changing things, but also making sure that it has some consistency to it so that your customers are going to know what to expect?
Sometimes I work on a new recipe, but I always keep eye on my whole team. And that's where my sous chef role comes from. He have to watch my regular production, and then I come up with something new.